हेलो फ्रेंड्स, मेरा नाम रोहित तिवारी है और मैं आईएएस दिल्ली इंस्टीट्यूट ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर दिल्ली में पॉलिटिकल साइंस का मैं एचओडी हूँ। फ्रेंड्स, ये जो वीडियो है ये हमारी वीडियो सीरीज जिसमें कि हम सिविल सर्विस एग्जामिनेशन 2022 के वीडियो सॉल्यूशंस को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। So this is the second video on that series wherein we will discuss the section B of the paper 1 of civil service examination 2022. Now friends, first let's start with the first question. So it says that analyze the workers movement in India in the pre-independence period. So friends, it's a very straightforward question. It is asking about the workers movement in pre-independence India, that is prior to 1947. So it's very simple question. It could be solved from spectrum if you have read the spectrum. Anyways, but since it is a political science question, so we have to make some rhetorics which should sound like a political science answer. So in intro, I should suggest that you should link that Russian Revolution, or it was called as Bolsheviks Revolution, with the Indian workers movement. So how you link that? You can say that since the time of Russian Revolution, India was developing a working class consciousness which reflected in various movements across the Indian subcontinent, right? And also you will add, it was like this worker movement has participation from the biggest political parties of that time, that is Congress, along with Communist Party, right? So what was the first? So you will have to first discuss the various following workers movements. First you have to discuss Ahmedabad mill workers strike. So you know that it was one of the biggest Gandhian movement, and one of the earlier who was the participant, he was Mahatma Gandhi and Maniben Sarabhai. Sarabhai, she is the sister of Ambalal Sarabhai, who was the noted industrialist of that period. Then you have to trace the ITAC and following subsequent workers movement. So this how, but see the question, if you go by the fact of the question, then you will find that there are only few worker movement that you can quote here in your answer. But again, if you link it with the Russian Revolution, then your answer will become more appealing, more academic, and more a rhetorical kind of question, which should come closer to a political science academic question, friends. So friends, let's move to the. So friends, let's look the second question. The preamble of the Indian Constitution reflect itself as a social contract. Elucidate. So friends, here this question is about preamble of Indian Constitution 1949. Now see, here we are supposed to tell what preamble is, but here we have to link the preamble with the concept of social contract. Now here again you have to bring in your knowledge of section A. So what is social contract? Social contract is nothing but expression of popular will. Who are the prominent social contract philosophers? Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Jack, Jean, Rousseau. So this is the, and which is the first constitution which says that it is the social contract. So if we read the American Bill of Rights or preamble of US Constitution. Secondly, the French Revolution Declaration. Now, how our Indian preamble or the preamble of Indian Constitution, it's similar or it can be said as social contract. So the preamble start with, we the people of India solemnly resolve to make India a socialist, secular, sovereign, democratic republic, in order to ensure equality, liberty, and justice. Justice like social, political, and economic. And we are resolved to protect unity and integrity of India. So, who is exercising the power to make this authority? Who is the sovereignty? In social contract, the sovereignty lies with masses. Unlike various other constitutions where its sovereignty lies with either God or if they are or if there lies with the Communist Party in China. So when sovereignty lies with the masses, because masses have exercised, masses have given, public has given, or they have given or extended their authority, their sovereignty in order to create a state which is sovereign, which is independent to make its both internal and external policies. Socialist in the sense that the economic justice, the concentration of wealth should not be limited or restricted to a few people or in the hands of few. Secular, where their state shall not have any religion and state will treat all religion as equals. Democratic, where the executive or the polity of the Indian Union shall be democratic in nature, where executive shall be elected by people. And republic means the head of the state shall not be hereditary, unlike the US or unlike the UK, Queen, Portuguese, and there are various European nations which have still they have kings and queens as their head of the state. But in India, it should be and person elected by its people, and equality, liberty, justice. So this is all self-understood. But again, here the question is about how it is a social contract. So you have to mention what is social contract. Social contract is expression of popular will, where people of that particular nation come into contract. Or if we use the word of Thomas Hobbes used the word covenant. They come in contract, covenant, in agreement that we are creating a state. So is the Indian state, and the sovereignty in a social contract nation lies with the people of that particular nation. So this question, again, you have to link your section A knowledge with your section B. Had it been a preamble question, you would have described it straight away and done away with this question. But again, here, since the social contract, ya samajik samjhauta, it is categorically mentioned, so you have to bring in, and this relationship between social contract and preamble, you have to mention it explicitly in the intro of the question itself. So friends, this is it about this question. We shall move to the next question. So friends, let's see the third question. Third question says that Legislative Council is a house without any effective power. Comment. Now friends, since we know that in section 2, paper 1, section B, it is a very tendency to ask questions which are related to current and contemporary affairs. So the issue of Legislative Council was in news, and it was very prominent in news. So recently we have seen that the West Bengal government has decided to set up a Legislative Council, right? Now, what is the procedure to establish or set up a Legislative Council? So for that, a bill has to be brought in or introduced or passed by the state legislative assembly, and then it has to be assented by the union government, by the president. So Article 169 of the Constitution of India provides for the Legislative Council that a state legislative assembly can have a legislative council if they so desires. Currently, only 6 states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, and Karnataka have the legislative councils for themselves. And you must also be aware that the Telangana government has passed a resolution in favor of abolishing its legislative council. However, it is still pending to the government of India. President is looking into it. Once he gives his assent, the fate will accompany. So as we know that legislative council comes into existence through Article 169 of the Constitution of India, and Article 171 shall categorically specify that the total number of the Legislative Council of State shall not exceed 1/3 of the total number of the members. So for example, Uttar Pradesh Assembly, Assembly has 550. So 1/3. So it should not exceed, the strength of the Legislative Council should be less than the number, which is 550 by 3. The members are indirectly elected. So of the total members of the Legislative Council, 1/3 members are elected directly by the electorate, consisting of member of local authorities. 1/12 are elected by electorates consisting of graduate residing in the state. 1/12 are elected by the electorate consisting of person engaged in teaching, so that are teachers, professors, lecturers. They will select one remaining 1/12, and 1/3 are elected by the members of Legislative Assembly. Similarly, so it is a kind of indirect. Now the question says that without any effective power. So question asks us to examiner want us to go to the relevance, the powers of the question. So let us compare the power of the Legislative Council with respect to Rajya Sabha. The legislative power of the council are limited. Unlike Rajya Sabha, which has substantial power to shape non-financial legislation, Legislative Council lacks the constitutional mandate. to do so. So it's like I mean, we have studied it in detail, and you have to categorically mention what are the challenges, or what are the limitation, and what are the shortcomings of Legislative Council in terms of yes. Similarly, assemblies can override suggestions, amendments made by the Legislative Council. So it has just a suggestive. It can suggest. It has a recommendatory power. Unlike Rajya Sabha, it has substantial power. Again, Rajya Sabha MPs, unlike Rajya Sabha MPs, MLC cannot vote in the election of the president and vice president. So, member of Legislative Council cannot participate in the election of president and vice president. The vice president is Rajya Sabha chairperson, while the member of the council itself is chosen by the council chooses its chairperson. So it is it's kind of a dilatory chamber. Dilatory chamber. Secondly, what is the purpose of legislation? Like, for example, we have seen, if we look at the example, Shri Keshav Prasad Maurya ji. He is a deputy CM of state of Uttar Pradesh. We have seen that in recently concluded election, Shri Keshav Prasad Maurya ji has lost his assembly seat, constituency seat. So, since he has to be accommodated in the government because he holds a significant holds among the Kurmi voters, and we know that Shri Keshav Prasad Maurya ji is highly devoted to the ideology of the ruling party in the state. So he must be accommodated, and there is a constitutional requirement that the minister has to be the member of state legislature. So to accommodate such leaders who cannot win the election or who have lost the election and they want to remain in the government, so this is the option. In fact, we see that previously in the previous government, Shri Yogi Adityanath ji was an MLC. Now this time he contested the election and he won heavily. But earlier he was a member of parliament, then he resigned, and then he became the member of Legislative Council. Now, what are the challenges? So, Legislative Council, first of all, it is an unnecessary expenditure on the state executive if it is not required, because you have to pay the salary, pension, all the expenses to maintain a Legislative Council. And already tottering fiscal condition of a state, it is not easy. Like, for example, state of Andhra Pradesh, I mean, they have resolved, they have passed resolution against the existence of the Legislative Council. So these are the lines. So this is a very typical Lakshmikant type question. But again, here you have to give in some current affairs and you have to give some example to substantiate your answer. So friends, this is again very simple question. It's very expected question, and even if it was not expected, a regular reader of a Lakshmikant, a sincere student, can anyways be able to do this question. So friends, let's look at the next question, that is D. How far is the National Commission for Backward Classes an empowered body? Assess its role in context of rising demand for backwardness among dominant communities. Now friends, though it is a 10-marker question, but it has two parts, A and B. But again, as we have seen in the previous question, this question is also picked up from the current news. Why this backward caste commission or kind of backward classes were in news. Recently, we have seen that there is a demand for caste census. We all know that the last caste census was conducted, all caste was conducted in 1932 by the then colonial government. And after that, it was abandoned, and post-independent, we have seen that the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, their population was counted, but for non-SC/STs, that includes so-called upper caste and other backward caste, they were not counted. So we do not have actual idea about it. So we have recently seen that various state government chief ministers demanded for the conduct of to conduct the backward caste commission. Now, why they want to get counted OBCs? Because we do not know that what is the population, what is the share of the population of OBCs in the real time. So accordingly, if we know the statistics, then it will be easy to implement the social justice program. And by counting their number, we will get to know that which are the castes among the OBCs which are overrepresented, or which castes are underrepresented. Recently, the union government has set up a commission under Justice Rohini to look after the prospects of sub categorization of OBCs, because we know that there are various classes which are dominant, as we have seen in the context. So what are the dominant class? Dominant caste are Yadavs, Kurmis, Jats, Gurjars. Which are dominant caste, and these castes are mostly landed elites. However, there are certain castes which are like Telis, Badhais, etc. They are like they still are backward and they have improper representation. However, our honorable Prime Minister of India belongs to Teli caste. So, but that doesn't mean that one person doesn't mean a whole community need to be addressed. Whereas, so in this backdrop, this question has been asked, and you have to highlight all this issue in the question. Though it is a 10-marker question, but again, you have to briefly touch to all those points that we have mentioned. Now, since it is a question, so we have to give the factual information that what is National Backward Caste Commission. So it is earlier it was a statutory body established by a law of parliament. Later, the Modi government has given it a constitutional status by doing a constitutional amendment, that is 102nd Amendment Act 102nd CA of 2018 to give it a constitutional status. Now, by giving constitutional status, its status get improved, and it shows that it is at par with the National Commission of Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. So it is a constitutional body. So definitely its powers, though powers are recommendatory, but again, if a constitutional body, it has a weight in its recommendation as well. So friends, these are some factual information. Again, the commission consists of chairman, vice chairman, other members in rank and pay of Secretary of the Government of India. And so this is a very basic information. However, we have more content, but space and word limit is very less. So we have to take care that we have to summarize that all these aspects to get good marks, because 10-marker questions are like math. The more you perfect your answer in 10-marker, the better is the propensity to score higher marks. All right. So friends, let's move to the next question. Hello friends, let's see the fifth question of section B, question number 5. Now let's read the question. Question says the high concentration of economic activities and the consumption pattern post liberalization period has led to the failure of environmental movement in India. Elucidate. Now, this question is also pretty straightforward. This question belongs to the topic called environmental movements. Now, how to start? Now, since this question is 150 word, that is 10 marker. So here we do not have much scope to elaborate. So very basically what we have to elaborate, or what we have to introduce, is that what are environmental movement, a brief definition, then history of environment movement first. Now, the question specifically talks about the failure of the environmental movement, and more so specifically in the context of the post-liberalization, that is after 1992. So you have to highlight what are the reason behind the failure of environment movement in India and why it happened post-liberalization. And recently we have seen that there is an increase in the infrastructure impetus and focus on infrastructure, and at times scholars and commentators highlight or flag the issue that the environmental concerns are being undermined. So this question has to be dealt in this order. And the last point which we must not forget, that since it is categorically mentioned that after liberalization, post-liberalization, what happens? So let's see what happens post-liberalization. So we have seen that after the liberalization, there is a stream of investment in India. Now, the investment at this large scale require the governments to provide speedy clearance. Now, in order to achieve high production, high consumption, and resultantly high economic growth, somehow we have, to a great extent, we have undermined the environmental issues. However, we should not proceed in very negative tone. We have to also highlight what are the issues. Like we have seen, we have NCTs, we have NGOs, we have civil society members. Like we have seen in Sterlite, Tamil Nadu, Sterlite plant and neutrino observatory issue, we have seen, and how the Adanis are being opposed. The investment made by Adanis are opposed by various sections of civil society. So we have to also briefly mention, but again, we must keep in the mind that we have a limitation beyond which we cannot elaborate, given the nature of the question is a 10 marker or a 150 word. So friends, let's see the next question. So friends, let's see the sixth question, that is, electoral behaviors of voter is governed more by the social economic factors than political factors. So again, friends, it is a very classical section B question based on electoral behavior. Friends, in this we have one scholar, that is Mukulika Banerjee. Now, how we have to proceed in this question? First of all, we have to briefly define, or let's say you can use 2 paragraphs because it's a 20 mark question. Define what is electoral behavior. Now, since here question gave you a direction, that here you have to appreciate that electoral behavior is guided more by social and economic factors than by political factors. So friends, as we know, as we are aware, that number one, how social factors affect voting behavior. So we know that, as they say, that in India, they do not cast the vote, they caste as per their caste, or they vote as per their caste. So we know that the social hierarchy like caste, community, ethnicity, and religion play a major role. So as we know that political parties form various equations like Ajgar, My, DM. So here, this is Ahir. In Ahir, you will find Yadavas, Mandalas, Jat, Gurjar, and Rajput. Here, M for Muslim, Y for Yadav. Here, Dalit and Muslim. So to cater the political aspirations of different castes, political parties do make certain equations, or this term is called as social engineering. Number one. Number two, how economic factors affects. So various schemes like Nyay scheme, PM Kisan, etc., etc., and especially in regional parties, bastions like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, etc. Economic factors like the promise of freebies. Recently, the debate on freebies was in the news. And Supreme Court and Election Commission of India has taken cognizance of this issue. So these are the social. Now it's not like that political factors did not affect, but they affect like various political ideologies, Dravidianism, Hindutva, etc., like Bahujan. But again, friends, we have to understand that these two are a kind of socio-economic. So any idea or any concept can in politics cannot remain absolutely aloof from sociology and economy. It has a connotation when we talk about the electoral politics. So friends, what as a conclusion, what will you conclude? So friends, as a conclusion, we know that like social factors, economic and political, they have their own set of unique effects. However, there is no watertight separation. So friends, by doing so in a systematic way, you have addressed the question. So this is the best possible solution in given the fact that we are not doing a post facto analysis. We are assuming that what are the practical limitation a candidate face while sitting in the exam hall. Hello friends, let's see the next question, that is P of 6. So this question says, the doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution has enhanced the power of judicial review of the Supreme Court of India exam. So again friends, it is also a pretty straightforward question and a classical section B question. Now in this question you are expected to express your knowledge about doctrine of basic structure and judicial review. So how we are going to start in this question? It is a 15 marker question. Again, we have a decent space for us to express freely. So how we are going to start? First of all, we will write a definition of doctrine of basic structure. Then we have to briefly define what is judicial review. Then in body, we have to give a brief context of the legislative history which forced the Supreme Court to arrive at this doctrine. Then you have to categorically make a heading that Keshwananda Bharti case and so on. You have to define the facts of Keshwananda Bharti case. Then what was the judgment? And then you have to give few examples of what constitute basic structure. Then you have to give instances where Supreme Court used its basic structure doctrine to turn out. So there was a National Judicial Appointment Commission, which is also known as Fourth Judge's case. And then you have to express the merits of doctrine. Then you have to express the merits of basic structure doctrine. So this is how a pure study of Lakshmikant will also suffice in this case. You need not to read any special academics or judicial books to answer this kind of question. So this is the ideal flow which an examiner expects that a candidate or an aspirant or a student of Indian government politics should be aware of. So friends, let's move to the next question. So friends, let's see the next question, that is 6C. So let's read the question. Question talks about discuss the composition and functions of interstate council. To what extent has this body been successful in achieving its objective? So friends, this again, it is a classical section B question, as I have stated a couple of times in earlier questions. So the question is about interstate council. So friends, how we have to deal with this question? First, an intro. define what is ISC, that is interest. So it is a constitutional body established or enshrined in the Constitution under 263, and it is upon the power of President, that is Union Executive to form this council. Now then, you have to tell composition. So again, it is a very high-powered committee chaired by Prime Minister of India, attended by all the CMs of respective state and union territories. If CMs are not available, then CM may recommend any minister. Now, what is the purpose or what is the idea, philosophy behind having this kind of council? So it is all about to resolve the dispute between union and state, or a state or a group of states, or between states. All right. So this is the first what you have to write. Now the second part of the question, which says that effectiveness interstate council, effectiveness of. So what you have to do is that you have to show the challenges of interstate council. All right. What are the challenges that you have already studied? Here you are required to mention Punchi Commission's recommendation, Sarkaria Commission, and what are the points made by second ARC. Also, you can also add current affairs that for last couple of years, there has not been any meeting or interstate council has not been seen recently in this years. And overall, what is the philosophy and what is the guiding principle that that you are take care of in this question is cooperative federalism. Who coined this term? Granville Austin. So friends, this way you have to elaborate the question, express the question, and this is the ideal structure that you are required to follow. Let's move to the next question, friends. And let's see the seventh question, 7th A. Examine the unique features of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. First part, do you think this amendment would contribute in achieving the goals of empowerment of the marginalized section of the society? So what we have to do in this question, there are two parts. First part is A, which talk about the theoretical aspect of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Now next part needs an examination of the effect of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, that is the institution of Panchayati Raj institution in the empowerment and emancipation and upliftment of the marginalized section of society. Now, who are the marginalized section of society? So first of all, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, poor, workers, marginal farmers, Second, differently abled citizens. Differently abled citizens, and to some extent, women. So here, this is the ideal structure. So I'm not going to tell what are the features of 73rd Constitution Amendment, because you guys all are aware, and you have studied in Lakshmikant, and if not, then in Madam's note and everywhere in class notes you have studied. You know about the basic about this question rests on 10 marks for this part and 10 marks for this part. So you have to equally address this question in order to holistically cover or holistically solve this answer. So what you have to do in the second part, you have to highlight how this Panchayati Raj has become empowered. So we know that there is a reservation, 1/3 reservation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and women in the composition of Panchayat. Now, theoretically, it appears that, okay, it's fine. But what we see that the dominant caste controls the SC/ST councillors. They control the councillors of SC/ST, and they can only function and survive with the pre-consent of the dominant caste and the dominant people, landed elite in the village. So in a sense that the actual empowerment is not so effective. It is a kind of follow. Secondly, insofar as the representation of women is concerned, so representation in women, again, we have seen that the case of Pradhanpati. So whether the women wins the election, but all the matters of the panchayat is seen or is solved or is taken care by his her husband. So that's called Pradhanpati and Sarpanchpati phenomenon. Now, overall, so this you have highlighted, but overall, what you have to criticize, or what are the challenges that you are required to mention in. So, as per the second ARC, the main problem of the Panchayati Raj system revolves around 3 pillars. First, funds. So, usually the panchayats are dependent on the devolution, the grants made by state and the central government. So, they rarely have any autonomous source of revenue. They rarely have autonomous source of revenue. Secondly, functions. State government has rarely delegated some important functions and others. Third, functionaries. We see that there is a great amount of bureaucratization in terms of functioning of the panchayat. We have a hierarchy of bureaucrats. In village level, we have panchayat sachivs, then rozgar sahayaks, then we have block level BDO, then we have Jila Panchayat, that is CEO of Jila Panchayat, and again the district magistrate of a district is a boss. So what point I'd like to make here in this, that the effective control of the panchayat is not rest with the public, rather it lies or rests with the government officials. which militates against, you can say in conclusion, which militates against the fundamental principles of the grassroots democracy. Here, if you would like, then you can quote Mr. M.K. Gandhi. So friends, this way you have to proceed in this question, and if you do systematically, if you make your structure this way, so I fully believe that you will definitely impress the examiner. So friends, let's see the next question. So friends, let's see the next question, that is B of the 7. So the question states that the speaker represents the freedom and dignity of the house examined. So again, friends, though irrespective of the tone and the language of the question is asking about the institution of speaker of. Now here it is not mentioned that whether it is speaker of a Lok Sabha or a speaker of a legislative assembly, but by default we'll assume it as a speaker of a popular assembly, both at union and the state, because their functions to a great extent corresponds to each other. Speaker of Lok Sabha and legislative assembly. So in case of Lok Sabha, Article 93 talks about the institutional speaker. So you have to define what is a speaker. Now, what is the eligibility and procedure of appointment of speaker. Secondly, function of speaker. And third, method of removal of speaker. And by now this information, which is fact, which is required for any candidate to write in this answer, because without it the answer will remain incomplete. Now after writing this, you are required to do a value analysis, which is the subjective nature, or you can say the normative aspect of this question. So in that you have to analyze the effectiveness and the role of speaker in Indian parliamentary democracy. So you have to, first of all, you have to highlight what are the positives aspect in current affairs. So we know that the present speaker, Shri Om Birla ji, is one of the most effective Lok Sabha speaker. He has a very high ratings in terms of legislative business of Lok Sabha, and utilizing the time and efforts of Lok Sabha. Now, since you have highlighted positive aspects, then you are required to do what are the challenges. So, since in India, a speaker remains the member of the political party, so opposition leaders accuse speaker for his non-partisan attitude. If you compare it with the UK and Canadian constitution, the institution or the post of speaker is a bipartisan, which means the speaker will hold its position till he resigns or till he dies. And this speaker has to denounce the membership of the political party. So, but again, in India, the speaker remains. So that's why the questions are raised about the impartiality of the institutional speakers vis-a-vis with the speaker of legislative assembly. So by this way, I think you are supposed to proceed in this answer. So friends, let's see the third question of the seventh question. So let's read the question. Discuss the policy initiative of the 14th Finance Commission aimed towards promoting the strengthening agriculture development in India. Now, friends, though the question appears to be very precise, asking about the role of what are the initiative of 14th Finance Commission in the field of agriculture. But here we have to be very theoretical and very academic. So first of all, in introduction, we have to introduce what is the Finance Commission. So we know that to strengthen the spirit of fiscal federalism, Constitution of India provides for a Finance Commission under Article 280 to amicably and independently distribute the resources generated by revenues. As we know that Union has more or wider sources for revenue collection. All right, fine. Now, this is the brief introduction. Again, you have to mention President of India is empowered to constitute Finance Commission every 5 years, and currently we are in the time period of 15th Finance Commission under the chairmanship of Sri N.K. Singh. So, brief introduction. Now, this question is specifically talking about Finance Commission. So, we have to tell what was the duration of 14th Finance Commission. So, it was from chairman of the 14th Finance Commission was Sri Y.V. Reddy. He was an ex-IAS officer, as well as he was the governor of Reserve Bank of India. Now, what was the scheme of the 14th Finance Commission? So he devised a scheme that total devolution shall have various weightage. So if a state, he has the 14th Finance Commission arranged the state in the decreasing order of the population. In the devolution, the weightage of the population was 17%. Then, and the population will be based on census of 1971. Then, demographic change based on the census of 2011. The weightage was given 10%. The next, income distance. Income distance is the criteria where we examine that the highest GDP, the state with highest GDP and the lowest GDP. So, if for example Haryana has highest GDP and Orissa has lowest GDP, so the least, the distant a state may be, the higher the weightage is given, higher weightage will be given to that particular state. So for income distance, the weightage is 15%. Next criteria was geographical area. So again 15% was given to the geographical area. Then forest cover, that is 8%. So this was the scheme devised by the 14th Finance Commission, and so friends, here is the solution and this is how you have to proceed. Now, what are the challenges that faced by 14th Finance Commission and it was reformed by 15th Finance Commission? So we have to very careful. We usually think that 14th Finance Commission was not in current discussion, so it will not be asked. So 15th Finance Commission was, people usually prepare 15th Finance Commission, and now you have seen that the question paper is straight away asked about the 14th Finance Commission. So you can imagine how challenging the things would have been if you have not studied this question. So in such a case, we have the liberty to skip this question. Anyways, friends, let's move to the next question. So friends, let's discuss the 8th question. And again, we will see that this is the toughest question in this, toughest set of 3 questions in this entire paper. So here, the question reads, ethnicity is the underlying cause which poses a great challenge in the resolution of the problem in Northeast India. Comment. So this question is belongs to the topic ethnicity and regionalism topic. Fine. Now we know how to proceed in this question. So we have to be a kind of rhetorical or anecdotal in this answer. Now we have to say that India, northeast of India, there are more than 50 ethnic tribal groups in Nagaland and areas surrounding it. Now, what is what the issue is, that some of these tribal groups, they want to be the part of India, and some of them like NSCN, Khaplan group, so they don't want to be the part of India. Now what happens is that the this tribal society, and there are sub tribes, subgroups, so it's so intricately complex issue that we have to cater. So if we cater them, so they will get naraz. If we cater them, then they will. So this is a kind of very complex issue. So ethnicity, yes. Now how we are going to solve, what are the modus operandi that the government of India is adopting? So first of all, we have constitutional provisions which says that, which states that the power given to them, autonomy given to them. Second, more funds and infrastructure for the Northeast. Usually the entire Act East foreign policy rests on the plinth of the Northeast. Then human resource development, mainstreaming of militant groups, various accords like Assam Accords, and in 2015 we have Naga Accord. Though various questions are raised, regarding the effectiveness of this accord, but still there is a framework, there is a mechanism that is going through and which is dealing the ethnicity problem in the Northeast India. So friends, this is the basic primary skeleton of the question, and we have to proceed in this way. So friends, let's see the B question. The making of Indian Constitution is described as an attempt towards the social revolution. Now again, it's a very subjective question. It's a very subjective question. How to deal with this question? So basically, you have to, in this question, you have to write a short essay about the Constitution of India. The way we used to write an essay in school. So what you have to do, you have to tell what is the Constitution of India, basic introduction. Then what are the salient features of Constitution of India, 1949. And then what are the positive aspects? You have to, in this positive, you have to tell how the social freedom movement and social movement formed the core idea of our constitution. And then what are the challenges, or what are the criticism of our constitution? What are the challenges and just what's happening? What are the criticism and challenges, like lengthiest document, lawyer's paradise, contradictory nature, So friends, though the question is asking something, but still what we can write concretely in a concrete manner to fetch marks is this. So if you can, if you have attempted or if you like to attempt such kind of questions, then you do not have any other option by other than writing this. So friends, let's move to the now friends, let's see the last question of the section B, that is, how far is it correct that the regional parties have strengthened Indian democracy and federal system? Substantiate answer with the suitable example. So again, friends, it is a very typical classical question here. This question talks about the regional parties. So how will you start? So here in introduction, you give a rhetoric that in India, democracy and political party are considered synonymous to each other, because political parties are the instruments and the institution which gives life to the democracy and make it effective and functional. So if we say that the political party in India is a functional part of democracy, then it is absolutely correct. Then here you have to make a flow chart. In India, there are two types of parties. National parties and regional parties. National parties and regional parties. What are the who are the national parties? What are the examples? Indian National Congress, Bharatiya Janata Party, and Aam Aadmi Party has become a national party because it has a very wide presence. Everywhere in Madhya Pradesh, you will find few councillors, and then you will find in Punjab they have formed the government, so they have two government in the two states. And what are the prominent regional parties? So like NCP, JDU, TMC, PMK, Samajwadi Party, YSR Congress, TDP, Telugu Desam Party, and KCR's TRS, and they have recently changed PRS. So though they want, I mean, every political party in India has and should participate in every. That's why this is how we will strengthen our democracy. So these are the examples. Now here you have to give a brief timeline of the system of party system. So first we have Congress system till 1967, where in both in union states, Indian National Congress was the dominant political party, and after that we have seen the breakdown of the Indian National Congress in states. So it has led to the emergence of various political parties like DMK and other parties in Tamil Nadu. Now, the question is how they have strengthened the Indian democracy. So first of all, we know that national parties have a very grand narrative in the sense pan-India narrative, but regional parties have some local aspirations, local conditions, so they understand the locals much better than the national parties. Though it could be debated whether national parties are also doing well in the regional level, but a regional party has a unique character. They cater the aspiration of the local demand. So usually we have seen that the rise of the regional parties has decentralized the democracy in India. Decentralized democracy in India means various groups, they can participate and they can satisfy their ambitions, they can participate in the governance, and doing so by this process will ultimately end up strengthening the democracy in India. So it's an argument. However, what are the challenges of the regional parties? So regional parties, since they have very narrow outlook, so they usually engage in communalism. Like for example, DMK, their entire politics is based on the hatred towards a community, that is Brahmins. Secondly, they resort in such kind of financial misadventures, which can which in long term adversely affect the fiscal health of the state. So, like giving freebies and excessive regionalization. Excessive regionalization may lead to regional tendencies and further strengthen secessionist tendencies. So friends, this is how you have to proceed in this question. So friends, by doing so, we have completed the discussion of section B of the paper 1 of the civil services paper 2022. And we have previously uploaded the detailed description of section A, and shortly we will be coming up with the paper 2 solution as well. So friends, I request you to please like, share, subscribe our channel, and please spread it to your friends so that our message will spread across. Apart from this, we provide in our institution daily answer writing program for political science and other options such as medical science, anthropology, sociology. Apart from it, we also provide test series and daily answer writing or daily mentorship for general studies as well. And we have very experienced team of faculty which will guide you towards the success. So friends, I request you to please like, share and subscribe, and please contact the number given in the description box so that you can and your friends will benefit from this exercise. Thank you very much for friends giving us an opportunity, and all the best, friends.